In the animal kingdom, bigger is usually better. Take for example the elephant. Not a lot of animals will want to go up against such a gigantic creature. Or a whale. Only apex predators like sharks, killer whales, and giant octopuses would dare to hunt something as humongous as a sperm whale. But once in a while, being small also has its advantages. Here are 12 of the smallest vertebrates and arachnids in the world. Sorry, Ant-Man, we won't look at insects, bacteria, and naturally tiny species like tardigrades for now. Let's start with number 12, the bee hummingbird. Hummingbirds are so tiny that they're often mistaken for a bee, thus the name. They grow only over 2 inches from beak to tail feathers and weigh under 2 grams, making them the smallest birds in the world. Actually, there are 320 different species of hummingbirds, but even among them, the smallest is still the bee hummingbird. Some bee hummingbirds are so tiny that they've been caught by dragonflies and praying mantis, trapped in spider webs, eaten by frogs, and stuck on thistles. If you want to see these tiny winged marvels, you'll have to go to Cuba, but the trip would be worth it. When they're flying, bee hummingbirds look like bright jewels hovering in the air. Fun facts, each hummingbird species makes a different humming sound when they beat their wings, so it's like each species has its own song. Anyway, the bee hummingbird's feet are so tiny that they can't walk on a solid surface, and they may be tiny, but they're gluttons. They need to eat twice their body weight in food every single day because of their super fast wing beats of 200 times per second. This amount of flying uses up a lot of energy, so they have to visit hundreds of flowers daily to get the food their bodies need. Number 11, the pink fairy armadillo. The pink fairy armadillo, also called Pichisiegos, is the smallest species of armadillo in the world. They average only about 13 centimeters in length. It's so small that one can fit the average human's hand. But like their bigger cousins, they live in the desert and love to burrow underground. They can only be found in the desert and scrubby grasslands of central Argentina and other countries in South America. They have an aerodynamic body shape. Their smooth dorsal shell and sharp claws help them to completely bury themselves in the sand and to easily create and navigate through underground tunnels within seconds. Because of this ability, they're also called sand swimmers. Like other armadillos, they're nocturnal and will only emerge from the sand once in a while so they can find some food. But unlike other armadillos, the pink fairy armadillo shell isn't completely attached to its brain and only has a thin membrane along its spinal column as the attachment. That's because it doesn't use its shell for protection, but for thermoregulation. You see, this armadillo can control the blood vessels in its shell. When it needs to lower its temperature, it flushes blood into the shell, and this adds to its pink color. If it needs to retain heat, it drains the blood from the shell. This is a very helpful skill for something so small. Number 10, the Philippine Tarsier. One of the biggest advantages of small animals is their cuteness. Philippine Tarsiers aren't the smallest primates on the planet, but they're certainly one of the cutest and tiniest. Fully grown adults grow only up to about 6 inches and weigh less than half a pound. They're about as big as a child's hand. They live among the tall grasses, bushes, bamboo, and small trees of rainforests in central and southern Philippines. Tarsiers have large ears that look like bat ears, but what humans see first are inevitably those large, round eyes. When you measure their eyes and their body size, they have the largest eye-body proportions among all mammals. But because of their huge eyes, they have an acute and extremely sensitive vision, which is why people shouldn't use a flash when taking pictures of these tiny animals. Fun facts, tarsiers can rotate their heads 180 degrees. They have long and slender legs and arms, which helps them jump distances of up to 20 feet. Plus, they have both flattened nails and claws that help them cling to branches and groom themselves. Number 9, the Barbados Threadsnake. No, you're not seeing an earthworm or a young snake. This is a fully grown adult snake. The smallest snake in the world is called the Barbados Threadsnake. The smallest snake in the world is called the Barbados Threadsnake. It lives on the tropical dry forests of the Caribbean islands of Barbados, Barbuda, and Antigua. It measures only up to 4 inches long and is as thin as spaghetti. Its tiny mouth can only take in microscopic insects like ant larvae and termites, unlike its bigger cousins that can swallow something as big as a cow. It's nocturnal and usually usually hides under rocks during the day. Number 8. The Speckled Padloper Tortoise. The Speckled Padloper Tortoise is the smallest turtle in the world. Yes, all tortoises are turtles, but not all turtles are tortoises. The Speckled Padloper can only be found in the rocky outcrops of South Africa's Namaqualand region. Its males grow only about 3 inches long, while females grow up to 4 inches. Like other tortoises, it's a herbivore. It feeds on tiny succulents and flowers. Because of its size, it can hide from its natural predators like birds of prey by squeezing into tiny crevices. The speckles on its shell also help a lot with camouflaging it. From danger. Number 7. The Baluchistan Pygmy Jerboa. The Baluchistan Pygmy Jerboa is the smallest rodent in the world, growing only up to about 1.7 inches. It's so small, it looks like a cotton ball with a tail, or a real-life Pokemon. It's also called the dwarf three-toed jerboa for obvious reasons. Just look at those feet. It lives in the harsh deserts of Pakistan, Afghanistan, and northern Africa by burrowing under small bushes to feed on seeds and leaves. If a mouse and a kangaroo had a baby, it would look like this tiny jumping rodent. Because its hind limbs are about 4 times as long as its forelimbs, it can also hop its way out of danger. Fun fact, the jerboa doesn't drink water directly from a water source. It gets water from the insects and plants it eats. We're halfway through. Are you liking this video? Then please take a moment to like and to subscribe to our channel. Please remember to hit the notification button for regular updates of our informative and exciting animal videos. Number 6. The Etruscan Shrew. If you include its tail, an adult Etruscan shrew grows only up to an average of around 2.2 inches. It's also the lightest mammal at only 2 grams, and even though it's tiny, it has a high metabolism, so it needs to eat up to 25 times a day or 80 to 90% of its body weight. It could die if it doesn't eat for even just half a day. Because of its eating requirements, it's an omnivore. It prefers animals smaller than itself, like insects and slugs. It also has the largest brain-to-body weight ratio of any animal in the world. And it has something in common with humans. The gnawing incisors of rodents usually grow throughout their lives, but the teeth of the Etruscan shrew gradually wear down, as human teeth do. And the most unique thing about this small animal is that despite being a mammal, it's actually venomous. Shrew venom is in the grooves in its teeth. It can kill 200 mice with this venom through intravenous injection. A pretty valuable tool when you need to eat 25 times a day, don't you think? Number 5. The Rusty Spotted Cat. Everyone knows the big cats, like lions and tigers, but not everyone has seen one of the smallest cats in the world, the Rusty Spotted Cat. An adult cat of this species grows to around 15 inches, excluding the tail. Kittens do not have the adult's rusty spots. Instead, they have rows of black spots. When they mature, the rusty-colored coat appears. It's a near-threatened species that can be found in fragmented areas of India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. They're fondly called hummingbirds of the cat family because of their size, speed, and agility. Number 4. The Paedophryne Amauensis frog. The Paedophryne Amauensis frog is the world's smallest amphibian and vertebrate. It grows only about 0.27 inches in length. It's actually a recent discovery. It was discovered only in 2009 in Papua New Guinea. Besides its size, one of the reasons it's managed to elude scientists is it's really great at camouflaging itself in leaf litter on the floors of tropical forests. So how did the scientists find this extremely elusive frog? First, they triangulated the noise that the tiny creatures were making. Then, when they still couldn't see it, the scientists grabbed a handful of leaf litter and dumped it into a clear plastic bag. The tiny frogs started hopping about inside the plastic. Number 3. The Spruce-fir moss spider. When we think of tarantulas, we usually imagine big, scary spiders. But let's go into ultra-micro regions and look at the smallest spider in the world, which is the Spruce-fir moss spider, which is actually considered a tarantula. It only grows up to 4 millimeters, and that's roughly the size of a BB pellet. You'd be lucky to spot it in its home, the Appalachian Mountains in eastern USA. Sadly, this animal is on the endangered species list due to increasing shortages of moss mats, which are critical to its survival. Number 2. The Pygmy Marmoset. High in the rainforests of South America lives the smallest monkey in the world. the Pygmy Marmoset. It grows only about 5.5 to a little over 6 inches in length, excluding its tail, and it weighs only about 15 grams at birth. That's roughly as much as the weight of a stick of butter. But like many primates, its tail is longer than its body. It usually lives in the river-edge forests of Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia. It forages for insects. Now, many primates have flat nails on the ends of their fingers and opposable thumbs that allow them to hold objects, particularly branches. Pygmy marmosets have claws rather than flat nails. They also don't have opposable thumbs, but that's okay because they don't need thumbs to get their favorite food, tree sap. These tiny monkeys poke a hole in the bark of a tree or vine with their sharp teeth. When the sap oozes out, they happily slurp it up with their tongues. Number 1. The Brookesia microchameleon. At the top of our list is the smallest chameleon, the Brookesia microchameleon, also called the nosy hair-leaf chameleon or the nano-chameleon. Scientists believe that it may also be the smallest reptile in the world. It's another species that was discovered only recently. When they first saw it in 2012, the scientists saw only 2 of these animals. Fortunately, when they x-rayed the female, they saw eggs. An adult grows only up to about ½ inch long. It's so small that it can fit on the tip of a human finger or a sunflower seed. And a juvenile nano-chameleon could fit on the head of a matchstick. It's that tiny. There you have it, our feature on the 12 smallest animals in the world. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to click the like button and to subscribe to our channel. And while you're here, check out our video on the top 10 animals with the biggest horns.